so appreciate the chance to be here among friends. And the only thing better than being amongst friends is friends and family. So again, I'm really grateful to have brought my mom and dad along. They are my two favorite Savannah High School graduates, and I thought it was appropriate to bring them. Marjorie, thanks for making me feel welcome, everybody. So, when I was born, Savannah had been a town that was a place where if you were born on the wrong side of the tracks, so to speak, it was hard to find a job. You might have to escape to make it in the world. And my parents, indeed, were born on the wrong side of the tracks. They didn't have a daddy's law firm, bank, insurance company to employ them. And so, to some degree, it was time to move on. And unfortunately, to a small degree, Savannah still has that reputation. I recently gave a speech in Columbia, South Carolina, and in the audience, someone raised their hand and said, I love Savannah, I love the history, and I love the chance to be there, but is it still a BYOJ town? That stands for Bring Your Own Job. At the Creative Coast, it is our job to fix that problem in reality and in perception, because we're a lot farther along than we had been. But let me take you back a little bit to my parents. My mom grew up truly in poverty and was saved only by the Girl Scouts. She became a registered nurse at Armstrong, and she married rich by marrying the barber's son. But for jobs, my parents did escape to Atlanta. My dad ran the Ford, or didn't run, he worked at the Ford plant near the airport. Many of you have passed it, it's unfortunately no longer there, and had the chance to eat chicken sandwiches at Truett Cathy's lunch tent. The best perk of the job for this newly minted Georgia Tech graduate was driving home the hot rod Torinos in those bright, varying colors. And although he had to work the night shift, this was pretty fun. My mother, on the other hand, did not meet such success meeting friends. She had me bulging her belly, she had my brother and sister out on the front lawn, and she kept trying to connect and make a friend. So she would snap her beans on the front porch, hoping a neighbor would come by. That didn't work. So then she'd be on the front driveway, knitting, snapping beans. Before you know it, she was out in the cul-de-sac, hoping a neighbor would come by to greet her. But they wanted nothing to do with a crazy woman with 3 kids entertaining a different man every night. Or so was the perception as he drove home these different cars every night in a different color. Why on earth do I tell you that story? Perception is hard, right? We all make mistakes with perception. And some of you perhaps have made that mistake with the Creative Coast. Perhaps to you, the Creative Coast are those people, those techie people. They're different from you. They're not a place where your talents, your wisdom, your energy, or money would not be welcome. Let me tell you, you're wrong. You're as wrong as those neighbors were about my mother. To this day, nearly half a century later, they are her dearest friends. And I hope that you will say the exact same thing about the Creative Coast, that this is a place that you gather and you are connected to for many, many years to come. So let me tell you a little bit about what we are actually doing here. Our job, and Louisa, you already helped me so much, is to create high growth companies in the Savannah area. And that's why I know you are welcome, and that's why I know I need you. Because I come here every Monday and I see you work so hard to fight poverty and promote people, to fight crime and to create opportunity. And that is exactly our business. We couldn't do it without the great support of the Savannah Economic Development Authority, who has been a supporter of the Creative Coast and founder for many, many, many years, along with the Economic Development Office of the City of Savannah. Those two organizations support everything we do, almost 50%. The other 50% comes from individuals, smaller companies and individual people. And what is really exciting is I want to dispel a rumor. When I walked into this job, I won't mention his name, but someone in the tourist industry walked right up to me and said, "Boy, you have your work cut out for you. Tourism, the Creative Coast, they are at odds." It gives me great pleasure to say that's quite the opposite. 3 of our top entrepreneurial companies are in the tourist industry, and this year we've received direct benefit from the Savannah Hilton Head Airport, from Visit Savannah, and from the Chamber. And I just am so grateful for Savannah continually coming together and doing great things as a community. We try to give back in that way. Certainly with Geekend, we are becoming more recognized as a place not to just visit, but as a place for someone in Chicago or New York to say, perhaps I could start an organization there, or perhaps that is a place where I could work. And I have great hopes that the entrepreneur.com regular contribution will move Savannah in that same way. So enough about why we exist and how. Let's talk about what we do. And I'm going to try to do that on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annual basis. But on a daily basis, the Creative Coast hosts the Creators Foundry. The Creators Foundry is located at 415 West Boundary Street. We're right next to Chatham Steel. It's a 16,000 square foot railroad warehouse that is now converted into an innovation hub. At the Creators Foundry, we host the ATDC, the Advanced Technology Development Center, connected to Georgia Tech. We host Jelinek Creative Spaces, which gives me such joy because I always thought, wouldn't it be neat if an entrepreneur or a coder connected with a sculptor, an oil painter, a potter, and that's starting to happen with the Jelinek Creative Spaces coming into our building. We also have Maven Makers. Raise your hand if you've ever used Square. Yes, because we use it here. But Square came out of a makerspace. And the maker movement is something that's sweeping our country to allow people to utilize expensive equipment. It could be for woodworking, could be a saw, a lathe, it could be a planer, could also be a CNC machine, a digital, a laser cutter, 3D printer, and perhaps, raise your hand if you've ever been to a gym. Nice. So perhaps you chose not to buy those $1,000 worth of equipment, but to pay a monthly fee. Maven Makers is exactly that same thing for makers. So it's a place where you can come and tinker with electronic circuits or what have you. And what that does for an entrepreneurial community is move the cost of a prototype from around $20,000 down to less than $2,000. Another company that's there is Atho, and Atho has embraced everything that we do, the podcast, the blog, the startup lounge, the fast pitch, and they've now gone from one person when I first met them to employing about 12 as they create a stabilization for the GoPro camera. Our BizLab incubator hosts companies that range from jewelry design, software development, and lead construction management. And most fun for me is that we host events for people like the Savannah Technical College Foundation, for the Historic Savannah Foundation. So please think about us and our beautiful red brick walls for your next event. On a weekly basis, we send out podcasts. Every single week, a new podcast, or is a radio-ish broadcast, so it's audio, but also gets played on the Savannah channel, Channel 8. So it's a video podcast, and that's really just highlighting any one entrepreneur and or entrepreneurial problem. Recently, we had virtual reality and web design in 2 of our recent podcasts, and I hope you would share these things with your children and grandchildren because it's an introduction to a career that they may want to pursue. We also have a guest blog. It goes out every single week. Our most recent was by John Bonner. We met him through Step Up Savannah's neighborhood leadership program, and I love that he wrote on Geek, Count Me In. My personal favorite hour of the week at the Creators Foundry is 9 a.m. on Wednesday mornings. Please consider coming. At 9 a.m. on Wednesday mornings, we launched the 1 Million Cups program. That is the program founded by the Kauffman Foundation, and we were the first in Georgia to be selected by the Kauffman Foundation to invite 2 entrepreneurs every week, a 6-minute presentation, 20-minute questions and answers, free, nice cup of coffee from Perk, and then again, entrepreneur and questions and answers. We usually have about 60 people come, and it is always educational. On a monthly schedule, we again have done several of the Savannah Morning News articles, and I'm hoping to do the entrepreneur.com every month. And we have intense specialized mentoring that we offer to our incubated companies as well as others in our network that include legal mentoring, human resources, public relations, and sales. And lastly, there's a lead startup circle, which is a small group. Every single quarter, we offer Rails Bridge. This coming Saturday, we're already sold out to this free program. And all that is a simple taste, an introduction to coding, because we know that companies will grow when there are more people who can do HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Ruby on Rails. And we have a number of great universities in the area who can actually teach that whole skill, but we're trying to bring people in the community and give you a day experience. We do always have a handful to a dozen jobs posted on our website and all for these kinds of coding skills, and they all pay more than $70,000 a year. So annually, we do some sort of signature events. Geekend is of course my favorite, and it's exciting to see that although it's not until next October, we already have sponsors signing up and tickets being sold. Additionally, we do Fast Pitch, which is a business plan competition. Over 50 companies apply every year for 22 spots to speak for 3 minutes and share their ideas to an audience of over 100. Startup Lounge is sort of the exact same and the exact opposite. It's entrepreneurs with investors, but that's our fall event as opposed to a spring event, and it's much more relaxed. It's only by application and invitation that people are invited into the room, and so they can have a really nice, intimate conversation about their business and perhaps investing. And tied to that, we always bring in Investor Weekend. We've had the great benefit of not only bringing in John Burke, who is a Palo Alto and Washington, D.C. investor who invested in 175 companies, including MakerBot and Fitbit, but we've also had the success in bringing in top angel investors from Charlotte, Atlanta, Greenville, and then they're meeting people in Savannah. Particularly, I got excited that this year about 6 different investors who, until they made that switch, were golfers and said, hey, I can write a $20,000 check, and now they're getting excited about entrepreneurship. So real quickly, the creative goes by the numbers. 30,385 people connect with us through our social media. You too can sign up for our newsletter, and you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. In 2015 alone, 3 different companies have raised over $163,867 through crowdfunding campaigns, largely fueled by all of that social media. Those include over $20,000 for the bicycle wrap skirt, over $40,000 to the Fujian Trader board game, and over $100,000 for ATHO. 2,457 people have attended our events just in 2015, and 166 companies have been directly mentored. I mentioned briefly about equity capital. Just since last November, we have helped and made introductions for 3 different companies to raise $360,000 in equity capital. So I've mentioned my gratitude for being a part of this Rotary. Thank you so much. You teach me a great deal every day. And perhaps one of the most important things besides your service is that I can't walk into a room and talk too much about Georgia Tech or my dad at Georgia Tech, or the fact that my name is B because he couldn't find anything closer to Yellow Jacket, without offending a few people, because I'm sure there's a Georgia Dog fan in the room, or many. So I'm going to risk my inheritance, and I'm going to tell you one more story that will mitigate your perception of my allegiance. I went to Emory University. I played tennis at Emory. Although we were good for Division III, we didn't stand a chance against Georgia Tech. So my only hope, after being raised in New Jersey, Ohio, and California, was to come back south, and I went to Emory, and my hope was to become best friends with someone from Georgia Tech. I thought my chance was on that tennis court. Every year we lost 9-0. Every match was 6-0, 6-0, 6-0, all the way down the line. And I was way down on the line, so by the time I got started, the match had already been decided. In this particular match, I was down 6-0, something 0, and the ball gets beamed right at me when I'm at net, and I fall down, and as I'm trying to get up, then my opponent says, "Did that hit you?" And I said, "Oh, no, I'm okay. It didn't hit me." She says, "I don't care if you're okay, but if it hits you, it's my point."
Oh.
I don't know how you would respond, but I responded in the only way I knew how. And it literally came out. I said, "Does this mean we're not going to be best friends?" I never saw that woman again, but I hope I see you Wednesday morning at 9 a.m.